Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to Where the Road Rises. With me, your host, Eileen Kerlin Walsh. Most of us have grown up with the horror and fascination of ghost stories. Who doesn't love a good ghost story? Our returning guest today is Bob Trzeciak, our favorite local storyteller. And ghost stories are his specialty. We could not get within yards of Bob for our show until Halloween was over, so popular is he around that time. Bob hosted for many years Paranormal Radio, where he explored mysterious and unexplained events with special guests. He is a popular guest in schools and libraries where his storytelling events are always standing room only. And we are delighted to have him back in the studio today. Welcome back, Bob.
Well, thank you, Eileen. It's so nice to see you again, actually, because you were a guest on Paranormal Radio a few years ago. So yeah, so we haven't seen each other since then, and that's been probably 4 years, probably, or maybe longer. I don't know. I'm not certain about that. Yeah.
An interesting experience.
Yeah.
So just jump in, Bob, and tell us a little bit about your background and what attracted you to the field of the paranormal.
Oh, geez, how long is your show? Yeah. Actually, when I was a kid. From childhood on, I was fascinated with the paranormal, with things that go bump in the dark. Was there something true to this? Was it just something made up? Was there anything to this? You know, was it a real thing? And I started looking for the truths in that myself. And of course, as a kid, I did the same thing all the other kids did too. I watched Creature Features and I watched Dark Shadows, the old soap opera Dark Shadows. Big influence on me with the paranormal, very much so with that. But then, of course, that was television, that was movies. I wanted to know the real stuff. I wanted to know that. So I started investigating that. And in actuality, my brother Ray, my older brother Ray, took a parapsychology class out at Governor State University. And he got very much into it, in investigating the stories, the local stories around our area here, where we're not too far from. Bachelor's Grove and Resurrection Mary and Holy Sepulchre Cemetery and all the hauntings and things that go along with that. And so that kind of brought me into it. Ray kind of got away from it, and then I sort of stayed with it and just kind of continued on with it.
You had gotten hooked.
Yeah.
So let's just start right there, because last time we had you on the show, we loved those stories.
You know, I don't remember being on the show. We talked about this. You said, I don't remember being here, but you said I was. Yeah.
Maybe it was a ghostly dream.
Yeah, it could have been. Or it could have been my evil twin Otto or something. I don't know.
Or your brother getting jealous of all your success.
Yeah.
But why don't we talk about those local ghost stories for our guests?
Yeah.
But let's start with Resurrection Mary.
Oh, where would you like to start with Resurrection Mary? Yeah, that's a story. Now, as a kid growing up, yes, my influence was growing up. That was probably one of the first real stories I heard growing up as a kid. I lived in the Summit Argo area for 58 years. I retired since, and I now reside in Elsip. I live in a retirement community there. And Resurrection Mary was one of the stories I grew up with. And in those days, you know, back 100 years ago when I was a kid, there were still some people around that were very familiar with that story. They knew the Norcus family, they knew the Bergovi family, they knew those people. And those are two of the candidates for the Resurrection Mary, Anna Norcus and Mary Bergovi. So yeah, that was something I did a lot of research on that as I got older too. The only thing I've never been able to find through the years is who actually coined the phrase Resurrection Mary. Where did that actually start? Who actually started just saying that's Resurrection Mary? You know, we don't know about that. Yeah.
And the story was, Bob, that this ghost appeared by the cemetery?
Yeah. To give you the short of it, because we could do a whole show just on Resurrection Mary. Over the years, I've talked to like 34 different people that have claimed they've had some encounter one way or the other with the entity of Resurrection Mary. Some of them I believed a little more than others, but I don't think anybody was telling me, you know, I believe they all experienced something, but in some cases it may not have been her. Anyway, the one story of Resurrection Mary would be Anna Norcus. She was like about a 13-year-old girl, just about 13 years old, and for her birthday in July 1927, she wanted her father to take her to the O. Henry Roadhouse, which later became Willowbrook Ballroom in Willow Springs. And father said, yeah, okay, fine, we can go and we can do that. So they hopped into the car in July, and with the brother, I believe it was, and the father, and then another couple, I think there were 5 in the car, and they went down to the Roadhouse and had a good time and everything. And then coming back to 65th Street in Summit, there was a 25-foot drop-off left by the railroad that they didn't see. And of course, their car went down the drop-off. She was thrown from the car and killed instantly. The other people all lived. And then she naturally, you know, 13-year-old girl, she died, and it was a horrible, tragic thing, you know, for parents to lose a daughter. And so they went to the local funeral director in town, in Summit, and that would have been George Sobiesky. And they asked, about him doing the funeral and everything. And he said, yes, we can do the arrangements, we can do all that. And where would you like burial? And they actually wanted burial in St. Casimir Cemetery, which is not too far from where I live now, over on 111th Street there. And he said, well, George told him, he says, there's going to be a gravedigger strike. So what's going to happen is if you don't have Anna buried, she may not be buried, and you don't want that. So you don't have things straight away with St. Casimir Cemetery. Temporarily have her interred here in Resurrection. It's close to the funeral home because Sobia's funeral home was in Summit. Resurrection is not too far from Summit, right down Archer Road there. And then later on, when you get things squared away, we can have her reinterred, and we can do that. And so that's part of the thing with her story. Many people claim they see, walking along Archer Road, very pretty blonde-haired girl wearing a white dress. They often say it's a flapper's dress. Some people say it's a wedding dress. And in actuality, Anna was buried in her communion dress from the year before. She made her first communion at St. Joseph's Church in Summit. So she was buried in her dress and veil, so that's what people are seeing. But many people say, oh, she's this flapper ghost and all this and everything. Well, she's a 13-year-old girl. She's a very young girl. Now, to my knowledge, no one has ever given me a story of her entity ever being seen by St. Casimir Cemetery, which may lead me to believe that maybe she wasn't actually interred there. She may still have been interred in Resurrection. Maybe there was some sort of a mix-up or something and she never did get moved. The gravesite in St. Casimir does have her name on it. It does have her name. Her medallion was on it with her photo, along with that of her father and mother, but then someone popped the medallion off and it's gone. Anything you'll look up, if you look anything up on the internet on Resurrection Mary, you'll see the picture of her. This blonde-haired girl, short like shingle, typical hairstyle for that day for 1927 when she died, and she has her communion veil on. That was the photo from her grave that was on her medallion. That's one. Now many people, most 90% of the descriptions are blonde-haired, pretty girl wearing the white dress. That would be Anna Norkus. And like I say, her entity has never been encountered along Archer Road. Well, it is encountered along Archer Road, but never have I heard anyone say they've seen her by 111th Street, by St. Casimir, where supposedly she is interred. Okay. Yeah, that one we haven't seen. Then, that was 1927. We move a couple years up, we go to 1934. And there's another girl, a whole different story entirely. This one is Mary Bergovi. She's a little bit older, too. She's more into her 20s. She was a factory worker. She lived on Damon. And she and her boyfriend and another couple were in the car, and they were actually not even at the Willowbrook Ballroom, another ballroom altogether. That would have been Liberty Grove Ballroom, which is no longer there. It was up on Mozart. It's long gone. And so they went there. They had a good time dancing, listening to the music, whatever they were doing. And then coming back home, downtown, the L has those metal, in the road, I don't know what you call them, the supports that hold the L, and they were not paying attention what they were doing. They hit that thing head on, and she was thrown through the window and killed, and she is indeed interred in Resurrection. There again, one person gets killed, the other person in the car all lived. Same thing with the Anna Norkus story. The girl was killed, the other 4 people in the car lived. Same thing with this. She was killed, her boyfriend and the other couple lived. So now, 1934, we have a different thing going on now. We're in the middle of something called the Great Depression.
Yes.
So money is very difficult to come by. And to come up with $300 or $400 in 1934 for a burial may as well have been $3 million. You were lucky in those days you had money for food for the family. So the Catholic cemeteries did a thing they called term burials, which for a very small deposit, sometimes it was only $3, sometimes $5, you paid on a burial lot. And your loved one was interred in the lot, and at the end of a term, a long term, 25-year, 30-year term, you paid the lot off, and then your loved one was laid to rest, and that was the end of that. They were okay with that. If, however, you did not pay the lot off at the end of the term, they could be taken, dug up, and moved to Potter's Field, and then they would resell the lot. And they believe this is what may have happened with Mary Bergovi. Now, she is indeed in Resurrection Cemetery buried. Her grave has no headstone on it, but if you make friends with some of the groundskeepers at Resurrection Cemetery, they could probably point it out to you. Other than that, it's kind of kept a secret. The Catholic cemeteries are a little particular about that, and I respect their wishes about keeping those things secret. And almost immediately, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but almost immediately from the time of Mary Bergovi's death, almost immediately people started seeing her description by the headstone itself, by her grave where she was buried. A very different description from 13-year-old Anna Norkus. This girl has brunette hair, and she was buried in an orchid-colored dress because she had a favorite orchid dress that she liked, and she was buried in that. Some people have given me the descriptions. Some are very vivid with the descriptions in Encounter with Resurrection Mary. Really good with the descriptions. Some say even the hairstyle. They comment on what her hairstyle looked like, the details of the dress, a corsage pinned to the dress, all these different things on that. So 2 very different entities, 2 different ones. shows. Yeah, but both often seen by Resurrection Cemetery, which, like I said, kind of leads me to believe that maybe Ananorcas may or may not have been actually moved to St. Casimir. May have not, we don't know.
And that's interesting, Bob. So we often are skeptical of those who tell stories of encounters with ghosts. So how do you treat those who tell you they've seen ghosts?
I love it. I think, yeah, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I love hearing what people tell me. And people that I like to take as very good, credible witnesses to anything in the paranormal, be that Resurrection Mary, something at Bachelor's Girls, whatever it may be, are people that have nothing to lose or gain. There's somebody that's not writing a book, they're not doing a radio show, they're not doing TV, they're not trying to solicit guests, whatever it may be. They're just, I'm telling you my story, I'm telling you what happened, and you kind of take it or leave it for that. And those people I like to take as very good, credible witnesses, because they're not selling anything, they're not making any money on it. I'm just telling you my story. And I like listening to those.
That's interesting. So tell me about the guests in your radio show. What was that experience
like? Paranormal Radio was a fun experience. I did that for about 13 years. I did Paranormal Radio. And then finally, like 2 years ago, I decided to give it up. I just kind of had enough of it. And I've always told myself with things, when I stop having fun with something or it starts to be bored, I get bored with it, or I'm not doing the job I feel I'm doing with it, it's time to move on. It's time to move on to something else. But I had a good run with that show, and something accidentally that happened to me. I actually got it very accidentally. I wasn't setting out to do a radio show, but I wound up doing it first at WARG Radio over at Argo High School, the local station there, and then I wound up doing it up in Norwich, which is where you were, when we did that show up there. And for a while I did both of the shows, and then I wound up just doing the one show. And over the years, hands down, one of the first people I wanted to get on when I first started doing it was Richard Crowe, because I had known Richard for a long time, and he had been for many, many years a big name in the field of the paranormal in the Chicago area. And Richard, oh sure, Bob, no problem, we'll do the show with you. So Richard came on, and we did, a 2.5, it was supposed to be an hour show, and we started yakking back and forth, and we wound up doing 2.5 hours, and we could have continued even longer with that one. And it happened to be a Friday the 13th show. And I thought, well, who better than Richard Crowe for a Friday the 13th show? And we were going to pick it up and do another show later that year, because there happened to be 4 Friday the 13th that year. And I said, Rich, I want to do another Friday the 13th show with you with the paranormal. Sure, Bob, not a problem. If I'm doing a tour or something, we'll phone it in and all. But we never got the chance to. He passed away. Yeah, he passed away that year. We did the show in February, and then in June that year, we lost Richard. Yeah, he passed away.
Would you call yourself a ghost hunter, Bob?
Ghost hunter, ghost researcher, sure. You get a tip on something you want to investigate. Investigation is quite honestly, I don't do a lot of them now like I used to. I used to do quite a lot of them. I don't now so much. Now I'm more concentrated on historical aspects and the truth behind it and the research with the things. I don't actually do locations too much anymore myself. I'm just getting too old. To do something like that for 24 hours overnight and all that for me, I'll fall asleep now,
Well, you have enough stories to keep us entertained now.
Yeah. I still do them from time to time, but ghost hunting, I guess you could say you're a ghost hunter, yeah.
Was there one experience that stood out? Was there anything that caught even you off guard?
Yes, one time, and I love giving the story, and I've told it many times because it was such a good thing. I had done a tour. From time to time, I'll do tours, especially for the month of October, with some of the local park districts, where we get a bus from the park district, and we put the people on, and we'll take them around to Resurrection Cemetery and to Bachelor, and we tell them the stories and the things that go on there. And one location that I did on this tour, it was with the Summit Park District some years ago, and it was the John Humphreys house in Orland Park, which is got a Bachelor's Grove connection, because supposedly one of the first Mrs. Humphreys may be the Madonna, Lady in White that haunts Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. We don't know, it's just a theory on that. Any of these things are theories, no one really knows, but anyway, it's just a theory. You kind of put 2 and 2 together and you figure out this might be the person or the entity that people are seeing. But anyway, in that house, up in the attic, all the way up on the top of the house, there's like a long stairway from like attic, it goes all the way down into the basement. And I happened to be looking down, and now mind you, I was bringing people there as a group on the tour, and then we had a little free time to kind of explore on our own. And I looked down and I happened to see like a black shadow, a shadow figure coming up the stairs. And it came up to like a certain point, and I noticed it sort of stopped and noticed me, and then back down it went, and that was it. And I was a little stunned. And I happened to have a 13-year-old boy. His name was Jacob. He was on the tour. His grandparents brought him on the tour. And he happened to be walking by, and I said, Jake, come here, come over here, I want you to see something. I said, come here, take a look down and tell me if you're seeing anything there. We both stood there, and there again, we watched it come back up again. And it got like to the same point, and there again, back down. And he's going, what is that? I says, yes, I seen it. I says, that's why I brought you up here for a witness. I'm glad you're seeing it too. So we both see, I seen it twice, he's seen it that time too, and we were both a little taken aback by it because I wasn't looking for anything, and then there it was, you know. And a theory on that, here again, theory only, that whoever that was, possibly, at first I thought, well, maybe I startled the spirit as much as it startled me. But then I thought about it, so maybe it just got to that point on those stairs. That's as far as it made. And maybe from there it fell in life. Maybe that's where that person died. They may have fell down that staircase, so that's why they just got to that certain point, and then that was it. So that could have been the point they got to where maybe they fell down the staircase, broke their neck, hurt themselves, got killed, whatever it may be, and that's why they're just kind of repeating that and kind of, you know, in repetition, a residual haunt.
So what is your theory about the world of the paranormal? Clearly, it's something you believe in, you've experienced.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there a veil between this world that we're so used to and the world beyond it, and occasionally we see beyond
Yes.
it? Is it a world in between this world and going to the next? How would you describe it?
In my opinion, just what you said, it's a little bit of all of the above. It's all of the above. There is that veil between things, and I think what it has to do a lot when something sort of manifests itself for someone, it could be, sometimes it's the right person, sometimes it's the wrong person. Some people see Resurrection Mary, some people don't. I've never seen her. You know, in all the years I've been doing this, I've never seen anything that looks like her. Other people, yes, they do. Sometimes you're the right person, sometimes the wrong person. Sometimes you'll have instances, too, where you have 2 or 3 people, and maybe one person is picking up on something or seeing something, and the other people nothing, you know. So it just goes that way. A theory of mine about this is I believe we ourselves, when we leave this earth and enter into that next realm, I think then all this is going to become clear to us. And we're going to say, now I know what all this is about. And I have the answers to all of this, you know. I know what that is. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, just a theory of mine, you know, that I feel about it, you know. Right or wrong, it's my theory, you know.
So what are your plans now for the future? You're not doing your radio show anymore. You
No.
still love to entertain audiences.
Oh, yes, I'm still very much active with things. As a matter of fact, I have a program. I'm glad you mentioned that. I can throw a plug in for that. Tomorrow night, I'll be doing a program over at the Worth Library. Nothing much to do. I touch a little on paranormal, just a teeny bit on that one. But this program only has to do with not the Lincoln assassination, it has to do with the Kennedy assassination. Because the 22nd of this month is 62 years for the assassination of JFK. And I actually did the program a few years back for the 50th anniversary. And then the Worth Library asked me to do it again. And I'm doing it now. And now a lot more information has come out about the JFK assassination that wasn't available in the past and that. So an interesting story about that. I'll be telling that. That will be tomorrow night at the Worth Library. And then December 4th, I get back into the paranormal again. And I talk about the dark side of Christmas. All about Christmas ghosts and Christmas haunts, and actually the area of the world that you're from over in the UK there, Christmas is the time for telling ghost stories. Yeah, that's the time for telling ghost stories. So what I do with that is I talk all about Santa Claus's origins and the dark side of Christmas and different beliefs around the world of Christmas. And like I say, in many places around the world, except for North America, December is the month for ghost stories, yeah.
Oh,
and then I have
great.
a couple of visitors that show up for that one, too.
Oh, how
Yeah, we have a couple of
interesting.
visitors that show up for that presentation. That'll be December 4th also at the Worth Library.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great. We'll
yeah.
get that information on the screen for our viewers. So, and I think it's interesting you were talking about Kennedy, because you do have a great series of stories about White House ghosts
Oh,
also.
yes. Ghosts of the White House, yes. The Lincoln Ghost, yes. White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, probably one of the most haunted buildings in the world. And many people aren't aware of that, but it's a very, very haunted building. It's a very old building, you know, originally built in 1800 for occupancy by our second U.S. president. And a lot of activity goes on there. Lincoln's ghost is very active in the White House. Ghost of Abigail Adams, Dolly Madison, many former presidents. Andrew Jackson's voice has been heard, but never actually he's been seen. Thomas Jefferson's violin playing. Very interesting story. One that I found very interesting was Mary Todd Lincoln, who of course, you know, a lot of things, you could do a whole thing on Mary Todd Lincoln alone and her life and the strange things that happened there. She actually claimed to see the ghost of John Tyler, our 10th U.S. president, in the Blue Room of the White House. But the thing about her story was she saw his ghost before he was dead. He wasn't dead, and she claimed to see his ghost. He hadn't passed away yet, yeah.
Well, Bob, that's very much like the banshee in
Yes.
Irish culture. We believe that the wailing ghost is right before someone in that home is going to die.
Yeah, it's their warning. Yeah, they're letting you know something's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
Bob. We could listen to you all
Yeah.
day, and there are so many other stories we're not going to get to, but maybe we'll have you on another time.
We'll have to
be it the
schedule it.
second,
Yeah,
be it
yeah,
the
yeah,
third.
yeah,
We
yeah.
just don't know.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. How about, is there any words
Oh, we're
of
done. Oh, geez. Okay, that was fast.
we're going to wrap up. Do
Okay.
you have any words of wisdom for our viewers? What
Words
would
of
your
wisdom. Yeah,
life advice be?
Words of wisdom for people is, enjoy life. Like we were just talking about this, and we're talking a little about the hereafter and that. And we often say that, we often take it for granted. We say life is short, and it really is short. None of us has an expiration date. None of us has a time limit. We don't know how long we're going to be here. Don't sweat the small things in life. Enjoy life and just live it to the fullest. And that, whatever it may be. If you enjoy paranormal and you enjoy this type of thing, whatever if you enjoy skydiving, whatever it may be, do your thing and enjoy your life. Yeah, experience what life has to offer. Find your niche in life, what you like and what you don't like out of life, and go for that. Yeah.
I love that, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what makes this tapestry so
Yeah,
interesting. Is that we are so different,
Yeah.
and we each bring something unique.
There's something
to
for everybody. The world has something for everybody. Yeah, that's why I enjoy my retirement so much, because I get the time to do things now I couldn't do when I was working. I have more time to do stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Well, thank you so
for
much.
your
It was a pleasure.
insight.
Thank you. Yeah.
And viewers, it's that time again where we have our 10th anniversary now. For the last 10 years, we've been having you bring to our office, right from Thanksgiving all the way through the 12th of December, a toy for our Christmas toy drive. Our recipient this year will be La Rabada Children's Hospital, and of course all the children, the little guys, the teens who are in hospital on Christmas Day will receive that gift. So if you swing by my office, 117th and Southwest Highway, bring a little toy, any value or a gift card, and we then have a surprise for you. It's either going to be our premium candy, you may get a gift certificate, you may get a book, or our storytelling program. So come on by, visit us, bring a toy for the toy drive, and we'd just be delighted to have you. So now we'll see you again in December, but for now, thank you so much again to Bob. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on Where the Road Rises. Thanks and bye.